I really don't.
Well, bless genetics.
Genetics, or maybe it's because I work out every now and then. But man, I certainly be. I love food.
Working out helps, not being a lazy ass.
Right.
Speaking from personal experience.
Right. That's what's up. Fellas, man.
A lot of it probably is genetics for you, though, because you probably, I mean, if you have a metabolism that's built in, that helps.
Yeah, I come from a family of athletics. Just all of us was athletes. So, I mean, that and I guess genetics, though. You know.
Hey, hold on. Are we? Oh, yeah, we are live.
Yeah.
I had a light.
Everything's on record now.
No, I just had the light behind me, and I didn't want I was trying to avoid the glow effect, so I was going to turn it off, but that's fine.
No, nah, you look
you should want the glow, Dave.
Yeah, you look mad wise, brother. You got that glow.
Right.
I was watching that.
Like the Last Dragon, man.
Right.
I was watching that recently. Yeah, don't ask me why, but I've been listening to the soundtrack. But
for
lately
real,
been getting your vanity on?
No, not that part, but like the Willie Hutch song. What was it? The Rockwell song. I've been listening. Don't ask me why I've been listening to the Rockwell song.
But, is somebody watching me on that soundtrack?
No, it's another. He's got other hits, I guess. But the song is called Peepin' Tom.
Not Betty.
Yeah, no, I know. It's when he was shooting. It's when.
Wait, the song is called Peepin' Tom?
It's when he's in the warehouse shooting craps with the Asian guys.
Right.
And they play him, and he ends up kicking the door back in.
But talk about going to the well. Your big hit is Somebody's Watching Me. Then you have another joint called Peepin' Tom.
Right. Yeah, no, he's definitely.
What was his third hit?
Paranoid.
Yeah, it's the Paranoid. And the fourth was Restraining Order?
Maybe. You know.
He more paranoid than me. Damn. This song probably was about the cops. It just didn't drop ever. You know what I'm saying?
He made a whole. Hey, Rook. He was outlining the whole police state before anybody was hip to it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, man,
Rockwell was deep, man.
He trying to let us know. You know what I'm saying?
He knew the feds was watching 30-something years ago.
Fam, that's why I don't smoke
for
weed.
Future and all them dudes.
That's why, because I'm already paranoid enough. I don't smoke weed because I'm already paranoid enough. I don't need help.
You never been a smoker?
Nah, man, not more than like one night, and then like a whole 6 or 7 months to go, and I don't touch it. You feel me? I ain't no smoker, bro.
That helps you keep thin too.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, because the first thing I want to do and the last thing is eat. Just crazy. It's like, what do I have in my fridge? You know what you got in your fridge, you high motherfucker.
But then you get paranoid that you think that the feds in the fridge.
Right.
I gotta keep them from my mac and cheese.
Hey, did you eat my
sandwich? Tap in the fridge.
Yeah. Every time you get the munchies, you getting added to your report.
Right.
I don't know. Some people need that. Keep them on track. You have a personal trainer say, "I know you ate that damn sandwich last night after you said you had your last meal at 6." And they be like, "No, I didn't." "Yes, you did. I got the damn video from inside the fridge." I saw your ass going in and grabbing that hoagie last night.
Right.
That sound like something Terry Crews would have did if he didn't get into acting.
Oh, what we talking about? Super Coon? Oh my God, that guy.
That's Alexa that's gonna be snitching on you.
He don't even embarrass me no more. He just that's like when is he gonna stop? When he gonna run out of film? You know what I mean? When his phone gonna die? You know what I'm talking about? When is he gonna lose the lust for filming shit? Like, cause that guy gets on my nerves, man. You heard of the Antichrist and everything? He's the anti-black. He's the anti-black. Like, he's seriously going on Twitter doing everything that's totally against black people. He's just doing it on purpose. You know what I mean?
Well, you got You got to keep it. You got to keep the America's Got Talent people,
Hey,
on the side.
Rook, you can't come out to LA, man. You got to do some things that's strange to make a living.
Strange for some change.
You be homeless. You gonna end up being homeless out here, man. You got to be able to do some strange things to be able to stay in business. And you black.
If I end up being homeless, I'm gonna have a lot of roommates, man. It's a lot. It's amazing how many homeless is out here in Vegas, and I know y'all got it tenfold.
Yep.
There.
Whole state is bad. It's like
Dave. I was gonna say, Dave, talk about your trip this weekend.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole Bay is just like it's like homeless central. It's really messed up.
It's like
there's
more out there, ain't it?
10 city everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really a black eye to the state. I mean, as much as people tout, Southern California is the promised land. It's just like, yeah, it's the promised land if you got money.
I mean, I feel the same way about Cali as I feel about America as a whole. Where they say, land of the free, home of the brave. I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, though, I mean, it's a little bit different because I think it's one of the first places where I've been, and like you have working poor, like working homeless, and I mean, I think that's really, something that's
crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
we have gigs and still not places to live.
Living in your car just because the rents are stupid. I think that I think one of the things I found out recently, I think they say like rents are starting to drop in like Oakland and SF because a lot of the tech people are working from home, from wherever they came, going back to wherever they came from. So like this is the first time rents are starting to drop in the area. I mean, it's 25. They said as high as 25% up. So if you got an apartment that costs $4,000, now it costs you $3,000.
Man,
it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous, man. Why would you? In some of these places, do not deserve the rents the median rents that that developers and stuff put on them, man. All you doing is pricing. All you explicitly doing is pricing out poor and working class people.
It has nothing, but it has
no other excuse.
Yeah, but it's just not new construction though. I mean, like it's been one thing if you can charge.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like some of these areas you talking about buildings that have been around for 100 years and they getting these crazy, rents associated with them.
Bro, why doesn't it correlate with actual jobs that the community has?
It does. It technically it does in the Bay. I mean, media. No. So, because the thing is, though, a lot of the tech industry is making it seem disproportionate. So you have all of the people who work at Apple, Google, all of the companies that are in that area, and it's just making it disproportionately high for the people who can't afford it. So if your median income, if you have a small subset of the population making $100,000-$200,000 a year, in kind of the tech space, it throws it off for the rest of the, people in the area. And the issue is too, with a lot of those cities, especially like San Francisco, they have restrictions on building. So you can't build, and it just creates like a shortage of inventory for rent. Back when I, met my wife, 9 years ago, she was paying like 12 for a studio, and that studio was probably like double that. She was in SF in San Francisco, and that studio is probably like double that amount.
Yeah, San Francisco is the highest in America. They are literally the highest in America.
Yeah, so
the rent is too damn high. Where's that dude at?
Hey, Kyle, I seen a dude today. I seen a dude a couple of days ago have a security guard suit on, and the dude was I knew he was homeless, but he had on a security guard suit, man, and you could tell it was his uniform because it was like, it wasn't like lived in. It was just like, he pushing a cart and he got that suit on because he ain't took it off yet. And I was just like, man, that's crazy. And just today, them little Caesar pizzas that be like hot and ready, like $5 and shit. Right. I bought one of those after work because I had a long trip after work to come home. It was like an hour and a half away. And I got one of those hot and readies, and I only ate half of it. And I was going to come home and throw it in some Ziplocs and heat it up throughout the week on some poor man shit. But I saw one of my friends out here that I know, going through it. And I said, hey man, you like pizza? He's like, yeah, sure. And I was like, hey man, have at it. It's about half of it left. He took that shit happily, man. Kept pushing his cart. It's crazy out there, man. It's absolutely crazy out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, but and also I think a lot of people, I don't know what about like what Nevada's like, but what ended up happening in California 40 years ago, back when we had another Republican president, was that they closed down a lot of the mental health centers. So you know that kind of that magnifies, but that was really what's been the leading cause of just the homeless population here up until probably the last decade. During the last downturn is when you just got more like working class people who've fallen on their luck. You know, but historically, it's been a lot of people with mental health issues, especially in places like the Bay and San Francisco and things like that.
Right.
And it's and it tends to be.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, and I was just like some of the stark differences I noticed just being coming from Chicago is bad. Up until recently, like the downtown Chicago was a crown jewel. Like our homeless population, while they existed in like Lower Wacker primarily. I mean, as far as where they live, I mean, you have a few on street corners.
Stored
right. But we had them stored differently, but still, it's just you didn't have tent city.
They did the same thing to Chicago before I left, though. Because when I was doing my doc on the violence in Chicago, that was one of the things I was recording was the fact that they had closed all of the schools and then they had like shut down like 80% of the mental health facilities.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it ain't no they. I mean, it was wrong. I mean, who was right. I mean, let's call it. I don't know. One of my pet peeves is using terms like theys and y'all. No, let's just call it. I mean, it was wrong who did that. I mean, part of. And I think
he should definitely shoulder the responsibility. But we're seeing another. Leadership here in the city, I forget the word, but we've seen another mayor here in the city who's really not looking. I don't even know how much. I don't think she really promised much in that area, but she, as a progressive, I think a lot of people, as a supposed progressive, a lot of people thought that she was going to attend to some of these things, but we're not getting any of that, and the city's not, improving in any way in that regard. We're still. Yeah, like you said, it's getting worse as far as the homeless goes, and this whole situation with this year with the with COVID and everything, and the rioting and everything, the uprising, it's I guess I think we kind of went over this before in some early shows. I think it's leading to a deterioration of the city from even the place where they value the city most it's starting to deteriorate visibly.
And you can tell by the looting happened down there just a little while ago and just had everybody spooked because it was like a mile and stuff. They had to know that was gonna happen, man. Had to.
Right, and they don't act, and they're not being proactive at all about it. They're not even being reactive about it. The only answer they got is lift up the bridges and shit.
Lift up the bridges and blame Inglewood, which is not where the fuck it came from, not where it originated.
Well,
nope.
I don't know how they would have been proactive considering that the Gold Coast is going to be the place that they hit because the last time around it wasn't. I mean, and historically, that's I'm
not talking about being. You can't control that. I'm talking about being proactive in regards to the stuff that we're talking about, taking care of the poor. Taking better care of the homeless.
Right. No. I meant just back to the last comment. So I was a little bit confused as far as the last comment. But to I don't want to say the Lightfoot's defense. From what all the news I get coming out of Chicago is like, she's got her hands full. I mean, the city is facing like damn near a $2 billion operating budget deficit, and that's really due to the pension crisis. I mean, I think that
a couple of weeks ago talk about that, which is obvious. I mean, we know there's a pandemic. It shut down a lot of the business in the city.
But you don't. But I think that's what the thing is that existed prior to prior to COVID, prior to the protests, prior to the riots. That existed prior. But the issue at hand, being the way debt works, is it snowballs, and the pension obligations snowballs. And it's just growing to this critical mass. And they haven't really the city has not come up with any viable solutions as how to address it, because what you have what's going on in the city is a couple different things. You have people leaving the city, a lot of times in just droves. I mean, historically, a lot of people have just went to Northwest Indiana just because it's the easier thing to do. And then also you just, and for a couple different reasons. One, you got, violence. People argue about the tax issues, and it's just really draining the coffers. And you're at a city that really can't be taxed anymore. So we're limited as far as solutions to be able to create income. And no one talks about that. I mean, I think it's, the social issues are important, but you got to have money to run a city, but you have to have money to run a city. And I think it's coming to the point where things are coming to a critical mass where they're not, with the population drain. And then also what you have a lot of when the damage is happening in the central business district is just creating this, I guess, dark storm that's just really has the potential to send Chicago kind of in bad fiscal shape. Because the thing is, there's no way where you can, there's no way you can tax people. There's limited opportunities for you to tax people under the current situations without creating more of an exodus for the people that come, and also to keep, the tourism from coming in, and a lot of also the mechanisms that brought people in the city, the transit systems, Metro being one of them, have been shut down to the point of just a crawl, to where they're running weekend service during the week. And I think that's something that's really has to be,
that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Dave,
because a lot of people
know Dave used to work for them.
They're trying to scale down. Man, look, but they also, man, it's like you have messed up the trust of the people over these years, because the racket that was, we're going to put police cams everywhere, and we're going to put street cams everywhere, and we're going to put cameras on all of the police. That racket that was that, and the racket that was the whole privatization of the parking system. Man, they were nickel and diming the hell out of Chicagoans before I left there. And I was just like,
that's daily too. That's going back to daily.
Yeah, that's going to daily. But definitely Rom kept that shit going. He just kept it going. And that's what old girl is doing now.
But no, I don't know. But so here's the thing, bro. I mean, I think we have to be able to compartmentalize. And I think a lot of people, especially a lot of people, don't necessarily have the skill or don't take in consideration. One, she's inherited a shit show. I mean, and she's relatively recent to the job, and she's inherited something that was bad for the last, if we're gonna put going back 20 years, at least 20 years. I mean, and I think that's just so. It's, to a certain extent, I'm not gonna say that she's the perfect mayor, but at the same time, she's a significant improvement over what we have. And unfortunately, I don't, and to put it in context, would I want a Daley or Rahm in this situation? Probably not. I think, from a leadership standpoint, I just think that it's unfortunate that things had to get so bad for, someone, someone black to have to get that job. It always seems like things have to
like that, right? It's always
it always has. Things always have to get to a place where things have gotten really bad or something. If it's not, at a company, it's not at a city, it's something, politically that has to occur for people to say, okay, now we're going to give that person of color a job, opportunity, that person, that woman opportunity.
And we see
it. But I think when you look at movements like that, though, they come from a feeling of the populace, the voting populace, of wanting reform or change.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We look at, that's what happened with Obama after Bush. And,
Morgan Freeman, or Morgan Freeman, was he like a president at some point in some movie?
Yeah, I think Deep Impact. I think he's been president in a couple movies.
Yeah, he's been president a couple times.
Yeah, but yeah,
man.
But when you look at reform candidates, or candidates who put themselves out there as reform candidates, you got to try to follow through. And I don't think that I think increasingly Lightfoot has sort of backed away from that. And in that there's been outside things that have, elements that have pushed on her that, that I don't feel I feel for her in a lot of ways for her job and that, but we can't be like, okay, she willingly took on the job. It's not like we forced her into the job. And she said,
what the hell she was
doing certain things. And if you're a politician and you don't capitalize on a certain moment and do the things that help get you in the office, then we as voters have the right to call them on that shit. I mean, simple as that.
No, I agree. I mean, but looking back to who the options were, I don't know. I think the issue is I don't know if there's anybody else what I've been like, well, we should have voted that person.
But the options may have been better, actually better civic leaders. They may. I mean, if you look at an old girl, a Preckwinkle, she may actually have ran the city better. And I understand what people feel.
He had more experience, but she got caught up doing some crazy ass shit too.
Yeah. But I'm saying you get caught. Dave, you can look how you want. I'm not saying she was the greatest candidate. I didn't vote for Preckwinkle.
No.
But I'm saying at some point people get swept up in movements, and it's like, either you want a person who reflects your values and can do the job, or you want a person who can do the job, or you may get a person who reflects your values but can't do the job. And I think we're leaning more towards that with Lori Lightfoot right now than we are the other two options, unfortunately. But she has time. She has time to turn it around. But she got to do some turning around.
You got to run that ship. That's Chicago. It's not going to change overnight. We already know that. She inherited that shit show, and it's got to continue on. Otherwise, it's just going to be crazier than it is now. Because once you get some rich people mad, then everything gonna change. Not just letting damn bridges up when we protesting. It's gonna be worse than that. That's crazy though.
Yeah,
up, dog. That's like
right. You have to be cognizant of how certain things look, and especially as a politician, how certain things look and how they play out.
Yeah, you try to say Chicago is not segregated, but then you lift the bridges up when people are violating the city.
Right, that's some straight Gotham City shit.
Right, exactly, Gotham City. I always compare Chicago to Gotham, dude.
Yeah,
real, man.
Gotham City have no middle class too. That's another big similarity, man. That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, and Chicago is getting more and more like that. It's more and more like cities like New York and San Francisco, where if you don't have money here, you're not living right. You can't just live as a working person in Chicago.
Well, I can already. We probably all have three different views on what is considered a living wage, and I can already tell you that what's the living wage in Chicago, at least what worked when I was there, wouldn't cut it out here. And I'm pretty sure that's the same. So, but the point that I'm trying to make is that there's still more opportunity to be able to create a functional life in Chicago than there ever will be in other New York.
Hey, why are we leaving? Why are we losing so many people then, David?
You leaving so many. So you leave. You leave. That's not a single answer. I'm sure I mean, it's also the factor of violence that you have to deal with. It's also the economic inequalities that come with just not having access to certain jobs. But violence plays a big key. I mean, I don't care how. I mean, like if I to put things in perspective for you. So historically, there were living wage, good paying jobs in Chicago 40 years ago. I think that 30 and 40 years ago, what you did have at that time, 30 and 40 years ago, when the steel mills were around and the railroads were around and all that great stuff, is you still had a high violence rate. So people,
that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
but
you had higher murder rates.
Right, actually, right.
evil. It just runs off of evil, like Dunkin' run, like Dunkin' Donuts or some shit.
I think the only difference is that one, a lot of that violence was concentrated to the projects, and then just two, I think it's just also, what people's comfort as far as living standards were different too. And then also during that time, you also had a higher rate of just, segregation as far as those suburban communities feeder communities that people move to now. I mean, I can speak to that personally from my family being the first, families to move kind of like to the Cal Park border. And when they moved 40 some odd years ago, they were not welcome. Mm-hmm. But with time, you had more people just more, open to integration, things like that. And, white flight spread a little bit further than the boundaries of the city. So I think that's just one of a combination of things, is that also why a lot of people were leaving the city is just, one, it's a combination of taxation, two, it's a combination of violence, three, it's a combination, also the issue of just economic inequality. I think it's just in seeing limited opportunities for mobility. So it's I think it's just a combination of those things. And it's also to the being knowledgeable, having those, family relationships who are people who are first, second, who are, multi-generational, move back to the South or who move west. So they have those relationships where they can move to. So like case in point, both of, with my family in Chicago, majority of my family in Chicago is here, but my maternal side, they've spread out of the country. They spread out across the country. They were originally based in Detroit. They knew 30 years ago, 20, 30 years ago that Detroit wasn't coming back. So they said, we're going to have to seek opportunities elsewhere. And it just wasn't about violence. It was also about the lack of economic opportunity, because Detroit, at least at that time, it wasn't an issue with just like rampant violence. It was just more just a lack of economic opportunity. So I think that's kind of the same thing that comes to Chicago. I think that it took a little bit longer for a lot of Black Chicagoans to get on that we're going to venture elsewhere train.
Yeah, but when it got to that point, it definitely started.
Yeah, it's definitely there now.
Definitely started to mirror a baby Detroit. I swear, before I left, I was predicting. I was like, this place is turning into Detroit. I was like, damn, it's crazy. They're letting places go, like they're letting businesses go bankrupt. They're letting houses go like empty, and letting this stuff happen because economically, eventually, they just gonna flip it like a pancake when everybody's gone and start over with a lot less people, or the people that they want in this motherfucker.
Selectively.
I think that when people make the Detroit comparison, one, I think it's a little, I don't want to say inappropriate, because historically Detroit has had white flight since the original riots. You're talking about 5+ decades.
Like 68.
68. When you talk to white people now and they say I'm from Detroit, none of them are from Detroit. You talk to, if you talk to Arab people and they say they're from Detroit, they're not from Detroit. I mean, they're from Dearborn. I mean, there's, with limited, so that's something that Detroit has had Black leadership, for better or worse, for the last, for 5+ decades. And I think that's something that, and then also the difference between Detroit and Chicago is Detroit is one industry town. And as a result of being a one industry town and having to deal with the, not being well adept to competing with foreign automobile entities, they ended up taking a huge loss. I mean, I think that's a part of it. And, also the last 15, 20 years, the subprime mortgage crisis, having mayors that are who are corrupt, that are even more corrupt than maybe some of the mayors that we've had in certain instances, or at least their corruption has been a little bit, publicized more than the mayors that we've had.
Dave, it's like a baby version, man. It's like, you're trying to be technical, all right? You're trying to be like, all right, everything has to line up like this, but it looks like that, bro. When you're open,
Rick is talking more about perception.
We're perception Black Chicago. If you want to make the argument, Black Chicago, we make up a third of, and then primarily the South and the West Side. Yeah, Black Chicago, I can definitely see that, but not the city as a whole. I mean,
as of yet, Dave, and that's one thing that, again, I'm worried about us seeing a tipping point with this summer. and the things that we've seen, acts of violence, acts of uprising within that major economic area, and people, and like they, the news media feeds into this too. Unfortunately, we see local reports here. I've seen it on Channel 7, Channel 5. They talk about these store owners and stuff. They're trying to tell their story apparently, but all the store owners, all they want to say or talk about is how scared they are and stuff now, and how they're thinking about moving out. And I mean, you're just feeling the same things now that we've been feeling for decades. That people in other parts of the city been feeling. So it's hard to feel sorry for them when you're coming from the places where we're coming from. But when you look at the effect that stuff has, perception wise, whether it happens slowly or quickly, it's going to lead to something, unless something changes, that's going to lead to just less development here, less economic development.
I saw that.
And like you say, Dave, Chicago has been lucky that we've been able to manage different industries here. We haven't just been a one industry town, but a lot of what we really manage here is getting getting youthful workers to come here from other areas, less popping areas, college towns in the Midwest. We bring them here to Chicago, and they formulate cheap labor that a lot of these major industries feed off of.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're getting less people of that ilk coming here to the city because their mothers and daddies don't feel that they're going to be safe here, what's that going to lead to? Less cheap labor for the big industries, and the big industries are going to go to other places where they can find cheaper labor. That's how it works.
It's happening. It's just happening a lot slower. That's all.
Well, so one thing that you kind of
all of Chicago, it's happening, bro.
Well, one thing. Oh, sorry. One thing that you kind of I would say one thing that you kind of left out with that is one, a lot of the rioting is not. The Central Business District has been affected by COVID, so a lot of people want to still work from home. So I think that's a part of it. I mean, that I don't know if that's going to be the rush for people wanting to go back to home. One, if you can still socialize, I think if without the opportunity to socialize, I mean, if Lightfoot shuts down all the bars and restaurants again, I definitely can see what you're saying happening. I think that the allure of the city, if I come from Wisconsin, if I come from Indiana, if I come from Michigan, if I have a choice to still socialize and I can work from home, I don't see myself leaving, especially if I'm living in communities where, a lot of the civil unrest is not occurring. And historically, Gold Coast is not where young professionals live. They don't, that's not where they're written at. So I don't, So, and I think that a lot of the neighborhoods that they're living in have had those undercurrents of, while it may not be rioting, but other issues of violence and safety concerns have
individual acts of violence, robbing, shootings and some carjackings and been hot still. Yeah.
And because, like I said, I get in Hyde Park, I still get the U.S. Chicago reports. Same stuff's happening. I mean, if anybody's leaving, if anybody's leaving, it's not because of that crime. It's probably more because the university being, shut down, or the physical campus being shut down, and that being more of an issue, I think, than just like necessarily the crime.
These things play hand in hand, though. When you have these extended shutdowns, when you're having less,
well, I mean,
less things to do in the areas, and
I agree, but I also think that I don't know, for whatever reason, I just think like the younger subset are a little bit more brushed, kind of keep things. I don't want to say have a different perspective. I definitely see the older people who've been moving out of the city in droves because, one, you have families. It may not be the place you want to raise a family, or whatever your concerns may be. I think a lot of certain elements of safety and things like that play more into older people's mindsets, especially, and also with people with families. I think it plays more into their mind than I think a lot of, especially the younger end.
I see what you're saying, David. A lot of younger people would be willing to tough it out. But like I said, though, a lot of those younger people may be dependent on parents and stuff who, you know, like I said, may not want to fund their city lifestyles and stuff. They may want them to come back to Wisconsin and Michigan and Indiana and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, if for those, yeah, they'll have to go back. But I still think the city just still, and I mean, like I said, you're physically there. I still think the city still just has a much of a draw, you know, especially the north side and a lot of the downtown area. And, you know, I still get the text. I still get the text message groups from, you know, our mutual friend Marvin, and they always seem to be. They always they don't seem COVID doesn't really seem, especially, you know, now that the bars and restaurants open, it seems like there's a, you know, back to normal to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So I don't.
You should get Marvin on the show sometime.
Yeah, that would be great. But yeah, so that's my point. I think that for a lot of people, the haves, or the people who, whether you have it because of your job or whether you have it because your mother and father subsidize your lifestyle, I don't think that those are the people who are going to be leaving the city. The people who are going to be leaving the city are the people who don't have it, who are either in one or two positions, who don't have it, who've been adversely affected by, you know, violence, and they just want to get away from that environment, or those who have, you know, who just have just enough, but they want something different for their families. And I think those are going to be the two. But I think,
I feel you on that, but I still think, I still think that a lot of the businesses, we're going to see some larger businesses leave the city in some soon, in due time. I just see that happening. You know, maybe you'll be pleasantly surprised, but you know, whether you're talking about businesses that are operating with franchises, or you're talking about businesses that have, you know, maybe main offices here and stuff, I think we're going to see more of that than we would like to see, you know, unfortunately.
Oh, no, I agree. No, I agree. Sorry.
Well, we got some numbers here, man. NPR put out some numbers.
Are you doing some research over there?
Are you saying
Please bring us some facts.
He's saying that shit like I ain't never said nothing factual. Okay, awesome.
No, man. Let me get defensive, man. I'm saying that pleasantly because we haven't looked anything up. We just been going off the dome, man. So I'm glad to see you bring some facts.
Yeah, I don't come out my ass with a lot of stuff though. It's just I don't know.
I appreciate that as well.
Anyway, great fellas, awesome. So listen up. So all of the people that are leaving Chicago, you know, it's this big spike that's happening. This NPR article came out in January 8th, 2020. So it's, you know, fairly new. White people, 14% of white people are leaving. All the people that are leaving, 14% of them are white, Asian / Pacific Islander. They're heading it up with like 21%. Like 21% of them are leaving. Then we drop down to 10% for black, and then Latino is 13.57. So we know that's kind of high for us because, well, we're the minorities. There's less of us here, so for us to be that high is crazy too. But 14% of white folk, and then they even go to they go as far as letting you know whether they have college degrees or not. So
okay,
28.6% has college degrees that are leaving, as opposed to 8.53 that don't have a college degree. That's not really surprising to me. Let's see the income. So low income, people that are leaving with low income, 1.66. Obviously, they ain't got the means to do it, so they can't leave.
Yeah. Money to move.
Middle income, they got it's 18.6% leaving. That's of the middle income area. You know what I mean? And higher income is about 26% of them leaving. So I don't know. I kind of would expect that. You know what I mean? I kind of would expect that. But this is pretty cool. I'll probably send this to you fellas when we done with it. It's called 5 Charts That Show Who's Leaving Illinois and Why. Pretty cool.
Yeah. No.
I gotta read that.
Well, I was gonna say that's great, Rook, but it's really be interesting to see is what the migration back into the state would be as well, to have a reference point. Because I think a lot of times when they have those studies, they don't show how many people are coming to the state. I'm sure there's still a lot more people leaving and coming in, but it's still great to have that reference point, because we have a similar study came in California, but what they found out was that when they factored in how many people were coming into the state versus leaving, the numbers end up evening out. I'm not going to say that's the case in Illinois, but that definitely was the case in California. Like the net loss was actually rather small. It ended up being even.
Yeah, definitely keep watching, I say, because after it does level off, they can't hide it for that long, because it start being noticeable to people like Kyle that's just walking around like, damn, all these people that came back. Because it was that noticeable to me when all of my friends were leaving this motherfucker. That's why, like, my first podcast I was going to put out was going to be like, why people leave Chicago. And I like interviewed all of my friends that left. But I feel like that's definitely the other end of the spectrum as far as what needs to be, studied with that. We definitely need to see who comes back into the place.
Yeah, this is what Rook is talking about.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not surprised by that stuff, but I don't think y'all are either.
No.
And there's some more charts with ages. I say look at, if you're interested in this issue, look this up and look up some other stuff. There's been some good coverage, I think, in some media outlets here in the city about this. So, try to look up, do some searches and look up stuff. This the college educated chart.
Right. That spike with the older people is the only thing that kind of like, raises my eyebrows. I'm like, damn, look at all the older people that's leaving. That's crazy right there. Because I think that thing is huge. What Dave said, that, people usually go places where they got family. You know what I'm saying? And not everybody does the dumbass thing that I did. Well, I went somewhere where I ain't got no family. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, it's really economical to live in this place, and I'm gonna try this out. It's very much a gamble, and most people don't do it. But y'all already know I don't do a lot of stuff most people do. I like how you play. I like how you playing with the tools, Kyle. I like it. I feel like we are right now.
We did a little taste of that last week when we
got a little taste of it.
So I'm trying to show I can do a little something.
Hey Dave, he gonna have to like change his resume after the night. You know what I mean? Because he like, he get a little comfortable with it.
I'm a multimedia motherfucker, man. Hire me.
Indeed. And
you put that on your LinkedIn page. Kyle means MMF.
Right.
Okay. MMF Doom.
No, you don't leave Doom there. Because the thing is, you want to have people ask you, what does MMF mean? If you put MMF Doom, they're going to say, okay, MMF Doom. Then you can open up a conversation. It means multimedia motherfucker. That opens up the conversation. You put that on LinkedIn, I'm definitely like, you'll get some people saying, nice to connect with you. What designation is MMF? And then you can tell them that's what it is. And
I got you, Dave.
Motherfucker.
Hey, look. Before we end up this hour, let's go into some lighter stuff.
Oh, okay. Let's go. Hey, can we just briefly go to California and what the hell happened with this brush fire?
The pyrotechnic party.
That's not very light, Brooke, but
that is light.
You want to go there?
It's not light, but
light. That's what it is.
So, I mean, you know what, Cal? Can you pull up the story since you're MMF?
What is this? What is this brush fire story?
Bruh,
it's about a pyrotechnic display at a gender reveal party. in Southern California.
Oh, okay. I heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Pull that up so we can kind of just have a frame of reference because I didn't dig too much into it. I heard it. And I was just like, that does sound like something that only happened in California. You have a pyrotechnic display at a gender reveal party. That is so important that you got to have explosions.
Right.
The whole gender reveal thing is just it's ridiculous, but
it is, but that's an extra level of ridiculousness. Like, why is that necessary?
What'd you say?
yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, the BuzzFeed. Yeah. Family members trying to step out the fire before it's
It's not funny. It's just absurd.
Oh man,
it sounds like the third act in a Will Ferrell movie from 10 years ago.
It actually does. Like the Catalina wine mixer went awry.
Yes, it's the third act from Step Brothers 2.
Yeah.
Like the white stuff, dog. Let's be honest.
That's a bonus scene on the DVD. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it.
Right. You ain't see the part where they had the gender reveal and it's like whoosh. You ain't see that part?
Yeah. John Riley and
it was all sparked when the family headed out to El Dorado Ranch Park for a gender reveal photo Saturday morning. The reveal is supposed to be done with a pyrotechnic device, but instead ignited a fire that
I thought.
Yeah, these the people you want to live close to, Dave.
Listen, I don't have no idea where El Dorado Ranch Park is at. Where is it at? Ucaypa Ridge. Listen, apparently you don't understand how big geographically California is.
Yeah, Cali's huge.
We were talking about it earlier on the phone. Yeah, I understand how big it is, but
so I have no idea.
That's still too close to me.
So right. Where is Ucaypa Ridge? Where I don't even know where the hell Ucaypa Ridge is. The bad part is that they did it at a park. I thought these dummies did it like on private property. They did it at a park. It would have been like bad enough if you did it at your
They were asking for it, man. They were asking for it.
Somebody need to go to jail.
These people don't probably own much private property, Dave.
You'd be surprised what people own, but the point out here. But I just why would you do that in a public park?
Look at that shit. Is that a video?
Yep.
Oh my god! It looks like
this is how California's gonna fall into the ocean. Somebody's gonna do a gender reveal and it's gonna break the San Andreas Fault.
A bullshit party.
Boy, you would have to use some serious explosives to do that. But what I'm thinking of, maybe they were trying to do a recreation of that Public Enemy song, and things just went bad.
Burn Hollywood, burn.
Yeah, they got the location. They got the location off.
People at all.
They were trying to support Black Lives Matter.
Look at that, man. It looks like it's supposed to be on National Geographic when they're talking about the natural brush fires that happen from season to season, right? Fuck out of here, dog. That's human made.
That's a movie, man.
I was telling
you, it look like The Rock is supposed to be hanging from a helicopter and come
right. Kevin Hart's supposed to be down there with one of them yellow hats, like, yo, we need to be saved. The Rock comes down and saves the day.
Like I said, I was telling Kyle, Rook, it's a lot of places in the state that are just hot as dry as Vegas are. Yeah. It was 100. Like I was driving back from Oakland yesterday. It's 113 degrees in certain parts of the state.
You guys have everything from really close to the equator to pretty far from it. So it's like, you got a wide range of how y'all's weather be. Our shit be ridiculously hot every day. I don't know why it's gonna be fires every day just from regular heat. You know what I mean?
113 to 75 in one day.
Exactly, man. Mm-hmm. That's real talk, Kyle. You hear that?
I kid, man. I'm not trying to deal with this shit.
You don't like heat, Kyle? Come on now.
Hot sauce is all. That's
right. That is. Give me the hot sauce. That's all I want.
I seen a dude in
But
Texas. I seen a dude in Texas literally put like a steak on top of a sewer grate. You know what I mean? And he was like, "Yeah, that's how hot it is out here." What the fuck? That was the most disturbing shit I've seen in the whole 2 months, man.
He put the steak on the grate.
Yeah, it was, and you could hear it sizzling and everything. It was like, he's like, "That's how hot it is out here." He's like one of them boys. Yeah, see how hot it is out here,
Bubba.
and I'm like,
you get your grill marks too deep, brother.
man. But you know the funny thing is, I was within an earshot of Texans a couple of weeks ago on the bus, and they was complaining their asses off. They were like, "I have never seen heat like this before." So it's like, yeah, we got y'all beat.
I think it just depends on what part of the state they're from. I mean, you know.
Yeah, it does, because Texas is big.
Texas got some hot ass areas. Man.
You say what? Man, they got some fine ass women in Texas.
Texas got some hot ass areas.
They got
fine ass women too.
Wow, they got some fine women. I don't know what they be eating out there, but damn, like really.
Well, I've only been to Houston in Texas. Where you been in Texas, bro?
Man, Dallas, Houston, pretty much everywhere they got the big relays and shit. I've been out to all of that shit because that's the only time I went, basically running relays and shit. So the Texas relays, I was out there for them.
Well, you gonna see some thick-legged girls at relays.
Yeah, but I'm talking about just being on the internet and just randomly seeing just like Instagram hottie ... And I'm just like, where's he from? Texas? Yeah,
that's true. That is true. I've seen some Instagram girls from down that way.
I mean, because let's be honest,
they set it out.
Let's be honest. The thing with me, and the thing with a lot of black men, I think, is the ratio that women are dealing with. Okay, so you're talking about the ratio of butts, weight.
You about to get real scientific on this thing.
Yeah, well, no, about as scientific I can without looking at NPR about it. But yeah, I don't know. The ratio will kill
you. Don't need NPR to study ass.
Hey man. You fellas made me think I do. Need to go get a study right now. No, I'm just playing. Look at Dave's face. I love it. I love it, man.
You gotta make them look like that every hour, right here. Once every week. Bro.
Speaking of text, one of the
you gotta make them look like that once every week, bro.
At least.
Speaking of one of Texas or Houston's most famous daughters, I just saw Black is King over the weekend. That was something else.
Yeah, let's finally talk about some pop culture stuff, because we put off the what you talk about that first, Dave. Then we'll talk about the Last Dance. We put that off for 2 weeks now.
Oh yeah, so yeah, Black is King. It started off real good, but Beyonce couldn't stay out of the the movie or the videos, and I think that's what started throwing it off for me. I was really intrigued by the different forms of, different African, music artists, rappers, things like that. And I was like, oh, this is dope, And then you see too much Beyonce, and like, I don't know. I'm sure from kind of like a, from a basic. From a real basic standpoint, Beyonce looks good, but it's just too much Beyonce. I don't know. It's just too much Beyonce for me. I'm trying to watch different artists.
You can't be surprised by that, Dave.
Right? She's the modern Diana Ross. She has to be on everything.
It was just like too much Beyonce. I'm like, it's just like it took something that really had like opportunity, like damn, this is really like great, and it just kind of just made it feel real commercial. That's the whole thing about it. Like, if she could just take her, like, if I could just like edit her out, like if it was just an edited version where they just had the artist.
She is the modern day Diana Ross. I heard a lot of complaints from my mom about Diana Ross just like that. So I feel you. I feel you, brother.
At least she, and then they had the part with like Jay and I was like, Jay, why are you in here?
I heard Jay rocked a bunch of Sergio Tacchini in that which kind of fits the African steez, I bet.
I don't know about all that, but all I know is that they just had like a special scene music video for him. And I'm like, is that a part of their prenup? I was like, I don't understand. Like, why does he have to be in everything? I'm just like,
it's the part. It's the part of the agreement from Lemonade and them not breaking up.
I don't but what does that? I could understand her being in all his stuff. I don't understand the inverse, but okay. You know,
he got to feel important. That song was for real bricked.
So he don't dip no more. So he don't dip no more. Okay, then that makes sense. This is the way to make him feel
his fastball, Dave.
You know, this is
his fastball.
This is the way to keep his confidence up, so he don't go, going for any side pieces anymore. And I'm like, but once you got 4 kids, you done. I don't know. Like, I'm like,
even Jay-Z, yeah.
Like, once you got 4, like, that's it. Like, dude, I'm like, once really you get past 2, 1 or 2, you really shouldn't. You shouldn't be doing it all. But once you get past 1 and 2, you really done. Like you told me I was washed a while ago. I'm like, once you get past 1 or 2, you really like, especially when you get past 1. I can understand you being SHI shit in front of one child's eyes, but you just can't, wreck the lives of 4 children's lives. I'm like, that's some old school. That's some old school dirt. Like you just like slid on your wife and your baby mama with 3 or 4 kids. So the point is with Jay, it's like
and the bogus thing with Jay is he can't have a secret second family. Like most regular dudes can have a secret second family. Jay can't have a secret second family.
Island, that's the only way he'll do it. Buy an island, maybe you. But
he tried to do Drake. He could try to do the Drake move. Hide the baby.
Hide the baby. I'll give you an Adidas contract. Just stay off to the side. It's got to be an international slide. It can't. Yeah, to Rook's point, it's got to be an international slide.
It's got to be Puma, not Adidas, my nigga.
It's also got to be an and it's also got to be an international. Listen, it's also got to be an international slide where they ban the internet. So it's got to be China. It's got to be Iran. It's got to be somewhere that there's no social media.
I didn't even think that.
Because you could have a second family back in the day because there was no social media.
That makes sense.
There's no social media. There was no paparazzi. I mean, like even if you were high level, 40 years ago, you could 40, 50 years ago, you could still fly under the radar, but that's gone today. Unless you find a slide from a country where they ban the internet.
And you famous as hell.
We gotta go into 2 things now. That's a great transition, Dave. Because I was thinking about this earlier today. Because a bunch of stuff has come out recently. Actually, this stemmed from a text conversation, a text chain that I'm in, where you all get the guys who I'm in this text chain with. It's Regal people. It's War Media people. And I'll say that. I ain't gonna say the names, but they were talking a bunch of stuff about stuff that was popping up on Twitter that I could give a fuck about. And a lot of it had to do with like this I don't know if y'all know this girl, Yes Jules. Y'all ever heard? Okay, don't worry about it. It's not important. But apparently
right now.
Apparently apparently there's a rumor that she banged LeBron at some point. And Pusha T actually mentioned it, referenced it in a lyric on the song. Because that's what Pusha does. He puts out everybody's business. Speaking of Drake. But anyway, I was just thinking about how hard it is for celebrities nowadays to do any dirt and keep it on the low. Like you say, Dave.
In America,
back in,
out here.
Yeah. 50, 60 years ago, all the stuff that Sinatra and all them celebrities from back then, people didn't know that stuff until 20, 30 years down the line at least.
When they was dead.
Like when they was doing it, they was straight. When they was doing that bit, they was straight. because
one exception. If the feds is watching. Because everybody knew it was that was the only exception. If the feds,
the feds wasn't saying nothing either. They wasn't like putting out the info to TM. Like today the feds will give stuff to TMZ.
Yeah, unless you put up money on black people or anything that they were really watching, they ain't get no fuck. They ain't care.
They tell your wife. They tell the wife. I mean, that's it. You know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they tell the wife.
But yeah, like Sinatra, all his dealers with Sam Giancana and all them. People didn't know about that until he was damn near in the grave.
Right.
So, you know, it's crazy how different it is nowadays. And one thing that came, there we go. Sinatra at his prime.
Digging while y'all talk, I just be digging this shit. You know what I mean?
I love that, Rook. I loved it. One thing that's come out today about a famous high-profile NFL player, and I have to bring this up. Because I even got an email about this, a pitch, because I'm nominally in the media business. I get pitches from all types of organizations that try to get stories put online and stuff like that. And this one group, let me see, a bidet company has offered Odell Beckham of the Cleveland Browns a free bidet, what they call a Cleveland steamer / cleaner, because apparently some lady of the night has put out today that Beckham likes to get shitted on.
I just saw that on the other on the text chain.
Yeah.
There's a meme. Did you pull up the meme where he's like he was catching the football and it's a poop?
Are you kidding?
No, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that day.
Are you guys kidding me, bro?
Nope.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, if you look it up, I'm sure it's there.
Tell me it's the inside.
Well, let me read from the email. Let me read from the email that I got from Tushy, who fashions themselves as a modern bidet company that washes your butt clean after you poop, with a stream of fresh water delivered straight to your brown eye. Has extended Odell an exclusive offer to be a brand ambassador. Brand ambassador.
They're really laying it in.
I will put up the email so y'all can see what I got. I got the email.
Can you believe this shit? Literally.
Yeah. This is what it is. And yeah, they're offering him a Cleveland steamer to clean himself, I guess, after his next adventure. And this is the type of stuff you got to deal with, though, if you're famous nowadays, man. Like this, they don't make hoes who keep their mouth shut anymore.
Oh hell no!
And this woman came out on an interview. I think it was the No Jumper podcast, and she told this dude's business. I think this was the same girl or similar girl said a couple weeks ago. She talked about how she got bussed down by like half the Phoenix Suns. And, I said, these girls is not keeping their mouth shut anymore, man. It's kind of sad, actually, but that's the type of stuff you got to deal with when you get to a certain level in life now, guys. I don't know if it's worth it.
It's worth it. You can either do one or two things, all right? You can Dave Chappelle had the consensual sex agreement. You can either have them sign some type of NDA. I'm pretty sure there are high-profile people who have ladies of the evening sign NDAs, have consensual agreements or not non-disclosure agreements, or don't do it.
I'm sure it's constant,
right?
Yeah, that's true.
Right, or don't do it. It's really all that simple. You at a higher place in life. And Odell's old enough to know better. To like, if you have a proclivity like that, And
He's a new dude though, Dave. He does a lot of new dude stuff, man. You know, he's talented as hell, but he does too many new dude stuff that gets him caught up.
Well, you know what? I don't think at this point we should be in the place blaming women. I think we should blame dudes. You got to be, you know, if you're going to be dumb enough or reckless enough to do it, then you got to live with whatever the consequences or the fallout that comes with it.
I feel you, Dave. I don't want to be like I'm blaming the women, but at the same time, Marilyn Monroe kept her mouth shut. It may have led to her death. It may have led to her dying off of pills, but she kept her mouth shut.
Odell Beckham ain't John F. Kennedy, first of all. So that I don't think that's a good comparison. I mean, for what?
It's the same thing. He's a famous dude. He might as well be John F. Kennedy nowadays.
Oh, bro,
that's pretty sad. That's a bad comparison. I'm not a JFK fan or anything, but comparing, yeah.
But you still have the same thing. You have these women who are engaging in these secretive acts with famous men, and you know, like there are more outlets than ever for them to go out and just tell people's business, whether they have an NDA or not.
Yep.
Well, you know what? If they violate this NDA, you sue their ass. It's crazy. I mean, it's quite that simple. I mean, you may not get any bread from it, but if you get sued enough, I mean, one, you're going to have to end up at least being the person that's sued. You end up having to pay a lawyer to defend you at the least bit. And lawyers are not cheap. So, you know, I mean, so even if that person doesn't have the money to get, you know, from whatever the claim is, at least they got to be responsible for paying a lawyer. I mean, at the least bit.
That ends a lot of cases. You can't afford that fucking lawyer for long enough. So, yep.
Yeah.
Your money's got to be.
I want to get to the real question, though. Have you gentlemen used the bidet?
Yeah, I'm supposed to. I mean, yeah. I mean, you're
supposed to.
I don't have one
on top of my toilet.
I mean, that's a part of what a lot of people don't understand. I mean, in a lot of cultures, African
y'all
culture,
got a bidet, Dave?
No, we don't have one is the point, but like I said, I'm supposed to have, you know, that's what you're supposed to use to clean your ass.
You're saying as a society we should.
Yes. Europe has them, Middle East has them, places in Africa have them. We're the people that don't have them, and we walk around with shitty draw syndrome. I mean, that's just it's
America, we gotta have our freedom and our shitty draws, Dave.
I'm like, I don't know. Maybe they were concerned they're gonna put Tide out of business if we walk around with 9 streak underwear. What?
I think the shit is brilliant. Cleveland Browns, Bidet, you know, my man. So fuck it. It all connects.
Hey, these companies is on it, Brooke, man. They are on it. They try to get that any publicity they can. When you get a story like this that comes out, you get any publicity that you can to ride off it, man.
Yeah. I mean, you know, apparently for him, it's not, you know, I don't, but back to the point, but I don't blame the women. I mean, like, you have to just be cautious when you're at that level. I mean, I understand when you're young. I mean, when you're in your early 20s, late teens, and having that form of stardom, but I mean, he's been in the league for a little while, so he should know better. And I mean, if he don't, and he's had enough other missteps to learn from him, if he hasn't learned from them other missteps, that I don't feel bad. I don't blame the women that service them or not. I mean, what outside of, you know, the stars?
I agree. Yeah. I agree in general, but I think some of these women really do get off of the attention that comes, like, because why would you admit being shitted on by Odell Beckham or sucking 7 dicks from the Phoenix Suns unless you want to get attention?
Well, of course. But that's the whole thing, though. It's like there's been enough, the league, whether it's NFL, whether it's NBA, whatever it is, it's been around for enough decades where there's enough cautionary tales behind you. It's like nobody, and I'm sure even if you come into a team and you knew, I'm sure you have enough peers to learn from and say, hey, and this is not the person you want to deal with. Because apparently she's been around. I mean, from what you're telling me. So I'm pretty sure somebody, you know, had to tell them, this is not the person that you want to deal with.
Hell, even in the Last Dance, Jordan was going around with the cocaine crew or whatever the hell they called them.
The traveling cocaine circus. Yes. What do you think about that, Dave? The traveling cocaine circus.
I mean, yeah, you hear it's really that none of that is surprising. I mean, I think I think it was just a different. I think it was just a different mindset in the league. Wasn't the NFL? Wasn't the NBA? If you read Walter Payton's story, I mean, he was more like a decade, before Jordan. Is that he was dealing with the same thing? A lot of the guys, they were heavy drinkers, heavy drug users in the, NFL on the Bears at that time, and he was coming in with some kind of green and just being kind of shocked at that culture, and then one also being just kind of more importantly the kind of lack of discipline for like working out and training and being committed to winning.
Oh, that's everywhere in sports, everywhere.
especially
you think Mike? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, so like, yeah, none of that is really surprising. I mean, they sucked during that time, and I'm sure, like, when you have bad habits, or it's going to show where you play. I mean, you can't booze and ride the white horse and expect to go out and win games. I mean,
well, they did have footage though from the '98 season where they were drinking after games too. Ron Harper,
it's too many
and Mike
stories
the beers
while being plastered. So
yeah, beers, yeah,
the beer. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little. I mean, yeah, but I think it's from what they were showing, they were having one or two beers, and it seemed like they was going out and getting hammered. And from like the stories,
and coming to practice late as hell the next day.
But Dave, do you think that Mike didn't indulge at all in the '80s when he got to that team?
I'm not
because he said the story. He said the story like where they was doing everything in the room. He peeked his head in the room. They had the hookers and they had the blow and all this stuff, and he just was like, oh, I'm out of here. He didn't go into the room at all.
I don't know if he didn't go. Well, I mean, I think it's the Eddie Murphy. So I think it's the Eddie Murphy. I think the Eddie Murphy analogy is probably the best one. Is when Eddie was talking about when Charlie Murphy was talking about how we were all involved in the wild stuff. Eddie didn't get involved. It's not saying Eddie didn't indulge on his own. It's what he didn't indulge with the group. It's not to say that he didn't indulge on his own. He may have smoked and drank on his own.
Like 14 damn kids. That nigga lived life. He definitely lived life.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing. He probably indulged in his own, but he was smart enough not to be caught with the group. I mean,
and there is something to be said about probably the mentality of guys like Eddie and Mike who didn't want to let things like that derail their success or their attempts at success.
Yeah,
yeah. So I could see that, but it just was funny at the time, especially at the time when the episode first came out. People was like, oh, like it. Like there's a lot of peer pressure that's involved too, and I think even though Mike is a singular figure, at one point he wasn't always he wasn't always Michael Jordan. Like even in his first couple years in the league, though there were elements of that, but I don't know.
Everybody has a different vice, and I think that's something that we have to look at and take in consideration. Like if the last thing I read, like biography I read, was the Walter Payton thing. Walter didn't really, didn't get high, but Walter had other vices.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
So that's the thing. Mike probably had different vices, or So I think that even if he did indulge, of course, not on the level as the other guys, or he wouldn't be Michael Jordan in the first place.
White women tend to be a consistent vice with men like that.
Hey, man, yeah.
It's kind of like, I think it's like everybody has their forbidden fruit. I mean, they had a thing where they obsess over it. I mean, whether it's a car, whether it's whether it's women, whatnot. Man, in the '80s, the first thing that historically was forbidden fruit to you was white women. Either you were going for the the high, light, bright women you could get, or you try to take your step up a little bit higher, and that's white women. The '80s was probably the first decade where you probably could be out publicly to, in certain, areas and not have to worry about your safety in a lot of cases. I mean, there are exceptions to that rule.
True.
But
yeah, that's crazy. Like the 80s, that's crazy. Like the 80s was the first decade where Rick James didn't put out the white women until the 80s. Like he had to wait until the
and it was still, and I mean there's still, and I don't know if you guys watched the Yusuf Hawkinstein doc yet, but there's still communities where that wasn't acceptable nationwide. I mean, there's still, and they're 80s and even further, down the line. But I think that was just the first, decade where it just became a lot more acceptable, especially when you were a professional athlete. When you transcended race. And I mean, to quote John Turturro's famous comment, Eddie, Prince, they're not niggas. And I think that being the fact that when you're on that
you talking about his character Do the Right Thing, not actually John Turturro.
Sorry, correction. Yes. No. Yeah. Sorry. What was correction? Yeah, it was Vino. I can't remember which one it is.
Yeah, Vito, yeah.
Vito. So his character and Do the Right Thing, they're not niggas. I mean, they've transcended race, and for a lot that you get a pass when you are high performing. And that's really an Indian industry. If you can make money for somebody, if you can captivate them on the screen, then you've transcended race. And so he knew Walter, Mike, all guys, Eddie, they transcended race for a lot of, for mainstream America. So that was that they could have that forbidden fruit.
Mm-hmm. They certainly weren't regular niggas. We could say that. But
right.
You just gotta know you famous, man. That's all. You gotta know you famous and fucking put that money down and pay for it. A lot of them dudes, their ego is so big, they don't think they gotta do that. And so cats like Odell, I guess, get sloppy. I guess everybody got vices, man.
Real sloppy.
I'm like, hey, man, whatever, dog. Whatever you into, whatever. When it's like that type of shit, you rich. Why ain't you just pay for it? You rich, pay for it. Hi.
Yeah.
A weekly cameo for the girls.
Yeah. I'm getting my. I'm getting my warning notice.
I think that's how we're gonna end every show now.
Yes.
From here on, but before we do end for real, let's just put the Last Dance thing in the bucket, and let's just go across the board. Like, Rook, what was your favorite part about the Last Dance, man?
I don't know, man. I have to think about that. It's come back to me because just being an athlete and just remembering Jordan and what he meant to me. Look what I got in here. Look what I got in here. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow.
We talking about real fan, dog. Like, I got shit all over the place. So just go to everybody and then come back to me. Maybe I can remember what the favorite part is. All right.
But Dave, all right, Dave, as you finished it now, what are your main takeaways from that whole series?
I mean, honestly, I'm a little bit disappointed from I'm disappointed in the context, whereas that one, I didn't live in Chicago when it happened. So but as a fan, it was a magical era in the city. I mean, just when we really had dominance as far as in ball. And I don't know, to what our original part of this conversation was, just kind of like the deterioration of the city. Chicago probably was in worse shape, as much as we complain about Chicago, what it is, but the social divide, the economic divide was probably a lot. Well, it wasn't greater, but it was bad then. Violence was higher then. But what we had to unify us was really just this magical figure and team that really was just consistently came and be able to put down any competitors that they had. And, they were all unified really by Mike, even though with his character deficiencies, I mean, a lot of them were with the intent of, creating a winning team and being able to have a process where you could consistently do that. I mean, that's what businesses aspire throughout this country. That's what every business person aspires to be able to do, is to be able to perform and be successful at it every day they go out there and do it. And Mike and Phil and Tex Winter and Scotty and the whole team, they just had a refined process where they would be able to be consistently excellent. And, I think that's really just, while it was a magical point in Chicago history, it's just also sad and bittersweet that we'll never be able to have that again. So that was just kind of like the general thing that I took from it.
That's well said, man. And starting from your first point about the way it affected the city, like there was, like you said, there were a lot of issues back then as well in the city, but it shows the power that comes from sports. And you could say it's a gilded age thing, or it's ultimately a trivial thing, but in the moment, that shit was real, man. That shit really brought the city together, and it made the city feel more important than it was. It made it instilled value, and I think a lot of people will say that the reputation of Chicago as a whole, you can look prior to Jordan, you can look to primarily two things: the mob and Daly sending out the police to beat people's heads in the '68 convention. That when you look at nationally what people thought of Chicago in the modern age, that's what people thought of mostly. But when Mike came into town and he ended up bringing those championships, it became something completely different, and it became about because of the weight that sports has in our society. It dominated that era of the '90s. You saw it all throughout The Last Dance, how celebrities, became, celebrities didn't come to Chicago to watch basketball games before Michael Jordan.
No.
But when Mike and Scotty and Rodman became these pop culture icons, it became a center place for pop culture that rivaled New York and LA in a way that it hasn't before or since.
Yes, sir.
That's the importance of a winning sports team, a dominant sports team, a dynastic sports team. When you could do something like that, it makes a big difference. And money comes into the city because of that stuff, and there's all types of after effects that come when you have things like that. And that's why that team was worthy of a 10-part miniseries, because they were that important and they were that big.
It was a dynasty. Straight up, that was a dynasty. And let me tell you, so my favorite part was when he was talking about how he got the worm back on board. When the worm went away, Dennis Rodman was gone, missing in action, and it was like he was linking up with some of everybody. You know what I mean? It was like, all right, they gave him a certain amount of days. They said, Worm, get it out your system, go do what you do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
On back, we're gonna get this series done. And the Worm was just gone, man. It for Jordan to come to the door personally, be knocking on the door like, hey, bro, hey.
Yeah. And Carmen Electra was hiding behind the couch like, I can't let Jordan see me naked.
I was like, man, that was the loudest I laughed the whole time. But for the most part, I was just really enamored with just having my childhood shattered. You know what I mean? Because I had no idea Jordan was an asshole when I was younger. But just watching that, I was like, damn. So now I see why it makes sense, because, being in sports myself, I know the times that I was able to rally my teammates around some shit was when I was an asshole. Like when you asshole, you don't care, you being a dickhead. Hey, man, I don't care. Run. It was trash. Yeah. A little different, but I mean, I know that there is a different mentality. So, hats off to Kobe. And Kobe was able to get a lot from Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? That Kobe mentality was kind of like that. You know what I mean? It was just like they could switch it off. You know what I'm saying? And like the dude from, the coach from North Carolina, he was like, and he would never switch it off. He would never turn it off. I thought it was magical, man, because I love production. Yeah. And the way it was put together was awesome. But Jordan, all the money he got, I expect that. I just hate that I wasn't on the damn, one of the cameramen. I hate that shit.
I think there's value in the series. I think maybe it may be arguably the most significant thing that the series did was allow more clarity into the persona of Michael Jordan as a competitor.
Yeah.
Because he didn't, a lot of things that he did, could be misconstrued in various ways. But when it came down to it, I think what he said, I think it was the 7th episode at the end of where he was like, I didn't ask anything of anybody else that I didn't ask of myself. He worked himself harder than anybody else.
Yeah.
And he just wanted that same commitment from the people around him. And doing that led them to immortality. You know what I mean? Nobody's ever going to forget what they did. So, you could talk about how he punched teammates in the face or he cussed people out, and he demoralized people like Jerry Krause, who in a lot of ways deserved it. But he was a leader in that way. There's different ways you could lead, but Jordan just showed a way that is supremely effective, and it led to a lot of great things. And I think what we're seeing, just up to today, where you have reports about Jordan being a go-between in between the owners and the players when they had the standoff in the bubble. I think Jordan has value as a leader. He's not a boisterous person. He's not a person who can go out and explain things to people. He does things that he does things mainly behind the scenes, and you have to dig into that to get reveal about what he's done in a lot of ways. But his value as a leader, I think, is unparalleled. And when you talk about him being a leader of men or a leader in industry, he set an example. He wasn't the revolutionary dude. He wasn't Muhammad Ali.
Nope.
But I still think there was value in what Jordan set as an example in the public sphere as a black man. Yeah. So that's just my last point on that.
Part? I mean, did you let us know about your favorite part yet?
Well, I would say, yeah, it was when Jordan sort of let everything go and said, when he was most emotional, and he said, look, I was me. This was me, and I can't apologize for that. And when you look at what it got me and what got the people around me, how can you argue how can you argue the steps that I took to get what I wanted? You know what I mean? That's what that's the most significant thing to me about that series.
That was great done. It was really greatly done, man.
Yeah,
was awesome.
It's up for an Emmy too. Hopefully it comes around with the Emmy, or else Jordan's gonna drop 60 on the Emmys if they don't win.
Right. Don't let them get snubbed, man. We're gonna see another. Already they doing the audio version of it, so I mean, you know what I'm saying? They on that now, so. Shit.
Oh yeah, right. I got to get back on that. That we may be able to get someone connected with that show on here.
If you can, it'll be awesome.
Yeah, we'll see about that, but we'll look going forward, man. We'll try to have, like I said, have some more guests, do some interesting things. I've always got some stuff in the brain. I think next week, y'all, I want to put it out there already. It's going to be the 15th anniversary of a pretty significant album that's coming up this week. It's actually going to be in between our shows. But the Little Brother, the Minstrel Show, 15th anniversary is coming up. So I want to definitely talk about that next week. And we'll get on that. But that's going to be, I think that's definitely going to be part of the show next week. But we're going to get off now. Dave got to put his babies to bed. And yeah, we'll get back at y'all next week, man. Same bat time, same bat station, and same war time, same war station. And this is in the building, y'all. I originally was just gonna be an hour or so, but we powered through with another half hour for y'all. So pay us our respect, man. We doing this for y'all, man. Don't forget.
Yes, man.
Anything y'all want to say, fellas, before we end?
Catch you next week.
Until next week, man, and stay on the right side of history.
Oh yeah, I told Ricky I was gonna give him his flowers, man. Shout out Shoutside, man. Do a plug for Shoutside real quick, man.
Yo, Shoutside, first Monday of every month. Bring out Shoutside is basically the soapbox for all those who are the less spoken. So not minorities, what America calls minorities, but the minorities, the literal minorities, in every situation. It could be at work, it could be in a neighborhood, it could be in white collar environment or blue. We speak for those that are less spoken for. Outside, the first one was about police brutality, and it's getting some good reviews. It's not enough people listening, but it's getting some good reviews. You know what I mean? So thanks, man.
All right, we out, man. Shout out to Shoutside. Support Rookie and all his endeavors. Dave, good luck with the kids.
All right, that is hilarious.
Belia,
No.
Belia, Layla, hi.
I gotta go.
All right, we out, man. We out.
Damn, he's
in the building, man.
He's out.
They dragged him off. They dragged him out the scene, Rook, man.
Right. Take him home, Kyle. Take him home, bro.
We out of here, man. We are RegalRadio.com, War Media. Subscribe, share, show us love. We'll show you right back. All right, till next time.